Now, before going on to studying the present participles, let us take one sutram which is actually from the Adhikara of Striyam, which starts from 413. We have been to Sadhikara before. We have studied the rules 414, Ajadyatashtab, as well as Runnebhyo Neep, and some others. Right now we're going to take 416, which is Ugitascha. Ugitascha, it tells us how to form the feminine equivalent of a Pratipadikam which we have derived. Now, why do we need this sutram right now? We need this sutram right now because we are soon going to be using the Shatra Adesha in place of Lat by the sutram 3 to 124. And when we derive a Pratipadikam ending in the affix Shatra, at that time, that Pratipadikam, which is a Ugit, it has the Rikara as an It. So to derive the feminine form in that case, we will have to use this sutram. That's why we're taking this sutram right now before we jump into the present participles. The sutram is very simple. The vritti simply says Ugidantat Pratipadikat Striyam Neep Syat. Anuvritti of Neep comes from the sutram Rinnebhyo Neep, which we have studied from. That is 415, the prior sutram 415. So a Pratipadikam which ends in a Ugit. Ugit means what? A term which has a uk letter as a marker, as a it letter. Uk means what? U R, R from the Mahashtra Sutrani. Uk stands for, the Pratyahara uk stands for Uvarnaha, Ruvarnaha, and Rvarnaha. So when we have a Pratipadikam which is ending in a term which is a Ugit, which has a uk letter as a it, then that Pratipadikam takes the affix Neep in the feminine gender. As you have mentioned many times before, that nothing can be used in the feminine gender unless it passes through the checkpoint, unless it passes through the checkpoint of Striyam, Sadhikara of Striyam, which starts from 413. And when we come to Sadhikara and we find a Pratipadikam which ends in a Ugit, then we have to immediately add the affix Neep before it can be declined in the feminine. So let's take a quick example. Let's take this Sarvanama Pratipadikam Bhavatu. This is a pronoun. It is listed in the Sarvadiganaha, referred to in the Sutram Sarvadini Sarvanamani, which is 127. Now, Bhavatu is directly a Ugit. It has a Ukara as a It. It is a ready-made form which is listed in the Sarvadiganaha. The ending Ukara of Bhavatu is a It by Upadeshe Jananasika It and Tasya Lopaha. So, Bhavatu is a Ugit. It has Ukara, which is a uk letter as a It. So when we want to get the feminine of this, we take Bhavat and add this affix Neep by this sutram Ugitascha, because Bhavatu is a Ugit. And then Anubandha Lopaha, the Pakara gets its Sanya Bhalantyam, the Adi Ngakaraha gets its Sanya Bhalashakvatadite, Tasya Lopaha then, and so we get Bhavati. So Bhavati means you, madam. So that is how we derive the feminine form. So here is the case where we have a Pratipadikam which is directly a Ugit, which itself has a uk letter as a It. Now, when we study the Sutram 3 to 124, and when we derive a Pratipadikam using this Shatra substitution in place of Lat, at that time we will have a Pratipadikam which ends in a Ugit, which ends in an affix which is a Ugit. So that example we'll be taking shortly when we introduce this Shatra Adesha in place of Lat, and then we'll take the example Vahantim Gangam Pashya, Vahantim Gangam Pashya. At that time we will again be using this same sutram Ugitascha 416 to bring in the affix Neep in the feminine gender. So these are these two cases where a Pratipadikam directly has been given to be a Ugit, as in the case of Bhavatu, or a Pratipadikam ends in a affix, a Pratyaya, which is a Ugit, which has a uk letter as a It. And that example of that second case we will study after we study the present participles shortly, and we will take up the example Vahantim Gangam Pashya. So we will need to use this sutram Ugitascha at that time also.